Okay, so I've just started the recording. Okay, so what we have planned for today's session is that we'll see a few transactions in the cash management that we are left with. Okay, so I'll just start with this. Okay, so in the last class we have seen how to create bank and bank account. So what is the bank structure that we have? So all those things we have seen it. So in the last session. So okay, so today what we will cover is that the remaining transactions are there. So wherein we will have to talk about the bank transfer. Okay, and then we'll see. So the statement part, we will need the exact format. One thing, as I said, so the manual statement loading and the other things that we have seen it in the system. Okay, but then in terms of the manual reconciliation and also the system specific reconciliation, that is, we have seen that we created certain rules in the system. Okay, so based on the rule, if system is doing the reconciliation is what we have seen. Okay, so that part we have seen. Okay, so the remaining things we'll see today's class. So just give me a moment. Okay, so yeah, I hope you can see my screen. So for this transaction, so whatever we are seeing right now, so we need this cash management, cash manager role. Okay, so that's the role that we will need. So that we have seen it already in the previous session. Okay, and then we covered the creating manual bank statement, and also we have seen how to do the reconciliation manually. Okay, and then we have seen loading the bank statement. So that is where we got that we did not get the exact bank account name. Okay, but then we have seen the process, that is, we'll say we'll go to the schedule process and we will run load interface file for import, and the import program that we will use is the process electronic bank statement. Okay, so which will import your statement, so wherein you will get here something like this. Okay, and then if you have enabled this reconciliation rules, so system will automatically checks for the available transaction, so based on the schedule that we have done in the system. Okay, so if there are any transaction that needs to be reconciled, so it will take care of that particular process of reconciling between the bank book and the cash book, which means that system transaction versus the bank transaction. Okay, so now whatever the transaction that is reconciled, so you will see here. So let's say you have 30 lines in the bank statement. So now this is how you will get. Okay, so probably if you expand this, so you will get this statement ID. Okay, so that would be your unique identifier basically. And then you will have the total lines and the reconciled lines unreconciled. So now if something is unreconciled, so that is what we wanted to check here. Okay, because usually the way that we will do this reconciliation is that, so I will have my payment number. Okay, so based on the payment number I'll do the reconciliation. So now there are few bank charges and the financial charges that will be are given by the bank side. Okay, so those transaction will not be able to generate it because we will not know upfront that this is the charge that bank is going to put on me. Okay, so for that, what I can do is that so I have something called generate cash transaction. So now what this will do is that, so this will generate the cash transaction. So now to understand the cash transaction, so what exactly is the cash transaction? So cash transaction is something, the cash transaction is something that I wanted system to generate automatically based on the statement lines that I have uploaded. So now let's say I have uploaded a statement line with 11. So now 10 is actual transaction that I have created in the system. So this one line which we are talking about is nothing but the bank charge. Okay. So we'll see how to create the bank charge and how to generate the transaction automatically. Okay. So now I'll show you what are the steps that we need to do to create this cash transaction first. Okay, so in this particular page, if you see, so that's the only pending point that we have with us. Okay, so after this we'll be covering the bank transfer and the other functionality. Okay, so I'll just go to the setup and maintenance screen. So here if I look for, or let me go to the implementation project. Okay, so I'll just open this. So here under cash management, so here if I expand this option, okay, so here I have certain transaction codes that will be created. Okay, so let me just give me a moment. Okay, so this is the screen where we are mapping our transaction codes. One thing, okay. So here, if you see, so this is not the exact way that the actual system will look like. So I will have certain types called bank charges, and then I'll have check, NEFT, RTGS, and the other modes as well. Okay, and similarly I'll have for receivable transactions as well. Okay, so now here if you see, so I have already created the transaction types. Okay, so which means this code, so which bank will be giving us, so we have already mapped it. Okay, so I'm not creating a new one, but to show where we are creating this particular transaction. So this is where basically we are creating this particular transaction. Okay. So now if I want to create this transaction automatically, so we have a setup called bank statement transaction creation rule, which means that what scenario that I want to create this transaction, because it's not that simply if there is some unreconciled item, system will create it automatically. So we will have to do the setup in order to system to understand that at what scenario So this particular transaction should be created automatically. Okay. Now I'll just say add. Okay. So I'll just give a name called bank charge. Okay. And I'll just select the legal entity. So it is US1 legal entity. Okay. So here, if you see, so we have the statement line identifier and the transaction identifier. Okay. So here I'll have to do this exact thing. So let's say I am having this as fees in my bank statement. Okay. Let's call it double sets one. Okay. So there are also option wherein I can use this search string, so which means that I can give something like an if condition. So if this string is matching in the statement, so I wanted to create it automatically. I can do that as well. But here I'm not giving that option. So I'm just saying this is my fees. Okay. And this is the transaction code that I want system to map. Okay. So this transaction code will be given by the bank. So bank is the internal bank, which means that it could be the Axis or the HDFC if it is India scenario. So American Express or whatever the bank it may be. Okay. So bank will give us this thing. Okay. So now I will have transaction here. So which I want system to generate it. Okay. So now I'll just give this as probably the supreme unit. Okay. So now I have here something called the cash account, and I have something called offset account. Okay. So now what exactly is this cash account and what exactly is this offset account is that? So now instead of creating transaction through cash management module, so if I'm creating as a manual journal entry, that is also possible. Okay, so if I'm creating there, so what would be my entry is that, so I'll have my expense account on the debit side, that is my bank charges. Okay, and cash account on the credit side. So that's the same thing that we are trying to achieve here. Okay. So now this cash account is derived from the bank account. Okay, because here if you see, so let's say HDFC account I have two accounts. So if I'm using account number one, so it is going to pick this cash account from account number one. Okay, and this offset account I'll have to give. So that is how system will understand that this particular accounting entry should have debit item as this account whatever we are mentioning here. Okay, so it's the simple screen where we say if this is matching, then this is the accounting entry system should generate. Okay, so I'll just say save and close. Okay, and then I'll go back to the transaction screen, and let me create one manual bank statement, and I'll generate this cash transaction and we'll see. Okay, so I'll say create bank statement. Okay, so this is the account that we are taking, and the period that I'm saying is today's date. So let me say, so this is the statement ID that I'm giving. Okay, so similar to that, I'm not giving the opening and closing balance. Okay, so now,
Hold if you
yeah,
create bank statement in behalf of AP or AR, it will go.
no, this bank statement will have both AP and AR transactions. So now, if I get something as an invert, as opposed to the sales that I have made, so that would be my deposit. Okay. So now, if I'm making vendor payment, so that would be my payments. So I'll have both the receivable transactions and the payable transactions. Yeah, so I'm just saying the booking date also 30th, okay, and so here I will select probably, I think the one that we selected started with double sets. Yeah, so this is the one that we selected, okay. So I'll say this is debit. So debit is nothing but I'm just making as an payment. So credit is something that I have received some amount. Okay. So now let's say I have been debited of let's say 100 rupees. Okay. And let me say this is 5 cents. So let me just save this bank statement. Okay, so now let me first say generate a cash transaction. Okay, and here primarily I will have to select the exact statement ID. So this is the one that we used. Okay, and the statement number that we used was, I think it started with 30. Yeah, so this is the one. So this is not needed since we are running it for 1 day. So I'll just remove this because it's been done based on the statement ID that we are giving. So let me go to this screen, schedule process, and check if this transaction is created. Yeah, so this is done. Okay. So yeah, I think this is the one that we created. There are a lot of transactions, so let me try to filter with amount maybe. Let me check the log file because the amount that we gave is basically 100, but then we couldn't get exactly in the list. I think it has ended in one. Okay, I think it has checked for all the legal entities, but then ours is basically this one. So it's not related to ours basically. So because here, if you see, so the legal entity is this. Okay, so which is not ours. Ours is US legal entity one is what we have given. So let me check the transaction if it got created. Mm, okay, let me check statement once because I think I have given this as yeah, so I have given as payment, correct. So let me try to run the reconciliation process. I don't think we should get any lines that is generated. So it is 30 and let me submit this. Okay, so this should be completed without any issue. Yeah, so this cache positioning basically it will look for the available bank accounts. Okay, so as we have seen, so that is for the different legal entity. Okay, so that's the same issue here as well. So the statement for the reconciliation process is completed. So let me go to the screen again. Okay, so I'll just click this exception maybe. Okay, so basically system has checked for the available transactions and it has suggested, but then I don't want to reconcile with this particular thing, but then I will have to generate the cash transaction. Okay, so if it is generated through statement, so we will not have any issue, but then since I'm creating it as a manual entry, so using this option. So let's see if this is not working for the manual statement, then what we will do is that, so I'll just show how to create this bank charges manually in the system. Let me check once if this transaction is completed. Okay, so let me go back to the screen. Right. So here again I'll have to do this one, I think. So manually creating this transaction. So what I will do is that probably I'll go to this manage transaction and create an entry for this. Okay, and then we'll see how to reconcile those two transactions. Okay, so I'll just say add. Okay, and then the bank account which we used is this 2869. Okay, I think I don't have access to this unit. Let me try this. Because the business unit that we selected is this Supremo US business unit. So let me give access to that particular unit as well. So this is FIN 21 and the role is cash manager. Okay, and the legal entity that I'll be using is ES1 legal entity. I'll say 7 plus. Okay, so let me just log out and log in once. Okay, so now let me go back to the cash management module. Yeah, it is here. Okay, so ours is this. Okay, I think I'll have to get it from here. Yeah, this is the one. And the business unit is Supremo. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, I'll just create one transaction for that bank. Probably the reason being, so this unit is not associated with the bank account. Let me just check. So if you remember, so we saw how to create the bank and the bank account. So wherein we had this, so we had this cash management. So where we created this bank accounts. Okay, so there you'll have to check if the access is given. So our account is this, the first one. So I'll say edit. Yeah, so the account that we should be using is the second one, not this one. Okay, so let me see. Okay, and I will just say save and close. Okay, So the reason being, so the bank account access is not given because if you see, so unless I have access to that particular bank, I'll not be able to generate or create the transaction. Okay, so let me just check if I have access to it. Yeah, so now I'm having access to this. Okay, so now to create this manually, so I'll have to create something like this. Okay, so here I'll say this is my reference number. Okay, and transaction type optionally I can select. So I'll just say this is fees. Okay, and the charge for this transaction is 10 rupees. Okay, so now here again I'll have to give the bank charge account. Okay, so I have selected it. So let me just save this transaction and see, save and close. So I'll run this cash transaction once again. Okay, so just say search. Okay, yeah, so this is the only transaction that we have created in the system. Okay, so now if I click this one called transaction number, okay, so this will have information. Okay, so in terms of okay, yeah, we just created it, so we did not account this transaction yet. So that's the reason it's saying not accounted. Okay, so now if I account this particular transaction, the entry that I will have is that, so debit my bank charges and credit my cash account. Okay, so now one thing here is that, so if I have the statement with me and I have the bank charges in the statement, so I will be able to generate this manual transaction, whatever we done it manually, so that system will generate. So that's this option. Okay. I mean, the setup is simple, but we will need the statement with us. Either it could be the Swift or the MT40. So whatever the statement we are talking about, so we will need that particular statement with us in order to generate it manually. Sorry, generate it by system. Because the manual one that we have seen it, but if at all I want to generate it by system, I'll need that statement. And so this is again simple process. So you'll have to just give the bank account name and the statement ID. So system will generate the transaction automatically. Okay. Any doubt till this point?
Mm, no. We
Okay.
don't want to add amount and all, just a statement ID
Uh, while processing or here
while
manual.
processing.
I mean, you are talking about the manual statement, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so here, so only thing that we will do is that, so we'll have the statement ID with us. So we'll have to use that statement ID to generate this statement. So those are the only mandatory fields. that we will have to provide. So others are like, so even the opening balance and the closing balance, so we will not be able to do it exactly, because if we have the statement with us, so we will know what is the opening balance and what is the closing balance. So probably if I'm getting the statement probably as an email, but then I don't have this integration in my scope as original plan. But then now if I want to add it, so that will be again an additional cost to the business. So if business decides that they will create the bank statement manually, then they will have to just input the opening balance, closing balance, statement ID, and select the bank account, then the debit and credit. So they will have the bank statement. So this is the process.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so this is one thing. And then we have something called bank transfer. Okay. So here, so there are two things. So this bank transfer, it's the simple process that we will do. Okay, but here there are two possibilities that we will be looking at. So one is that because there are certain requirements, so wherein this bank account will transfer the excess balance which they have automatically. Okay, for which we will not need the system to do the transaction or any user to do the transaction. Okay, so that is one thing. And second thing, what we are looking at is basically the transfer that happens actually in the system. Okay, so this is something that I wanted to transfer. So probably let's say I have two accounts. So one is my collection account. So in this case, the assumption is that, so I have one account for my collection or the receivable, okay, and the other account for my payment, okay. So for now, I don't have enough balance in my payment account, but then I have it in my this thing. Receivable account, that is my collection account. Okay, so now if I want to make this payment, I will have to do the payment actually in the system, saying that I'm transferring balance from this account to this account. Okay, so here if I'm doing this as an transaction after I do actual transaction in the system or off the system. Okay, so for that what I will do is that I'll disable this checkbox. Okay, so which means that I'm just recording the transaction what has happened off the system. Okay, so this is one thing. So now the second thing that I have is that, so I will be able to record the transaction and also send the instruction to the bank to transfer the amount. So how this will work? So let's take this as an example. So I'm just transferring the balance from this account to this account. Okay, so probably I'll just transfer $5,400. Okay, so now, as I said, so if I don't want to basically settle through payment or don't want to send this instruction to bank, so I can disable this. So that is simple process. So this I'm showing if at all I want to send the instruction to the bank. So I'll say this is my payment method, and then this is my business unit and the profile. Okay, so now one thing here is that this particular process will not send a request to my payable module. So what this will do is that, or in a way this particular thing will behave is that, so it will look for the transaction and this will create the format. Okay, format will be created in the system, and we will take this. So when we say format, this is nothing but the payment file that we are referring to. Okay, so this payment file will be sent to the bank. Okay, so I'll just say submit. Okay, so this is the transfer number that we have. So I'll just say yes, and I'll go to this That is schedule process. So here I'll have the payment file that is generated by the system. So I'll have to just refresh this. There are a lot of transaction, I mean schedule process that is scheduled. Okay, so I'll just show. So where we will set up this formats. Okay. So now if so payable modules will see separately, but now this talks about the formats. Okay. So I'll just show you. So where we will create this formats. So now when we say it is the format, so it's the format that will be given by bank, okay, because that is the readable format that we'll look at. Okay, so now if I want to create a new format, so I'll just say create new, okay, and I'll give a new one, and this will be BI publisher, okay, because we are not talking about the web service. So web service is kind of a technical component. Okay, so BI publisher is again bit of a technical, wherein we will have this XML files that will be generated by the system. Okay, so that is what we are referring to the BI publisher. Okay, so now this particular file will be created by the technical team. So they will give us. So we'll just have to select the template. So they will create the template, and we will have to attach that particular template here. Okay, so now if I attach this and save this, so this format will be associated with the bank transfer that we are creating. Okay, so this is the step that we will need there. Okay, so once this is done, so we'll have the payment file, and which we can send it to the bank.
What are the drop down is in format type?
Yeah, so here we will have basic. This one you are asking, or the other one?
Yeah, yeah, this one. For which channel we can create this format?
Yeah, so this basically you can create it for the payable. So payable is disbursement, and then the fund capture. So fund capture is for the receivable, and then for the bank statement. So bank statement, if you have specific format, so then you can create it. Okay, and for the payment, you can create this for the acknowledgement, and you can create it for the payment file. So the commonly used payment files. Okay, and then if you have what do you call the positive pay, so this positive pay you will have it when you are basically giving the check and the other thing. So there are certain countries which mandates to give the positive pay file. Okay, so that's the acknowledgement from us to bank to process the payment. Okay, so in that case we'll have to give the positive pay file format. Okay, so these are the options for payment. And similarly for the receivable part, so we have, so receivables, when we talk about it, so we will have this tokenization. So tokenization is kind of an security layer. Okay, so which will not expose the financial data which we are sharing. Okay, either it could be the card number or it could be the account number. Okay, so that's kind of security layer. So for which if I want to create the format, so I can create, and the notification and the settlement letters, if I want to create it, so that I can create it here. Okay, so these are the options. And then if you see logbots format, so logbots is again receivable part. So if bank is giving me as a file, which I will use it here. Okay, so I will use it here, and then I will probably probably I will import the receipts and I'll create the transaction automatically. So that's the process called logboard. So if I want to use that, I can use this option to create that format, and then I can do the relevant setup in receivables module. Okay, so these are the options that you will have. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, so this is about the bank transfer. Okay, so I'll just navigate to the same screen. Okay, so now here, if you see, so this is kind of an common screen. Okay, so wherein I can basically see my bank balance across my bank accounts. So this bank account I will have to need access to some extent, okay. But if I have access to that particular bank account, so probably I can use this screen to basically monitor the balance of my bank account. Okay, that's the idea behind this. Okay, so now uh, so fund transfer we have seen. So this fund transfer is nothing but the bank account transfer that we saw just now. Okay. And then if you see here, so we have something called ad hoc payments. Okay. So ad hoc payments are just a manual transaction that we are creating, because usually the payments are processed through payable module. So let's say there is a technical issue, but then I'll have to make payment to this particular vendor on immediate basis. But then the payment module will not be resumed for, let's say, another 1 day or sometime. Okay. So till then, what I will do is that, so I'll have my statement. Okay. So with statement, I will create the ad hoc payments. Okay. So which I can create it here. So before that, I will have to add this particular person as payee in the system. Okay. So this is not a big setup that we'll do. It's 2 or 3 fields that we'll have to input here. Okay. Okay. So I think the bank account
You
is
can
not
save
updated.
first. Just click save, so it will be visible that time.
Yeah. I mean, this usually if I
Right.
give tab, it should open, but I'm not sure why that is. Okay, fine. Yeah, so maybe I'll just, okay, I'll just give as MK trader, okay, and then I'll just say this is the bank account that I received this amount, okay. So this is an US dollar, and let's say saving, okay, and it's the routing number format. Okay, so I'll just say okay. So now this is the payee, and then this is the account. I mean the bank account that we have created. Okay, and if I want to add the address for reference, so I can add. Okay, and I can just say save and close. So now this transaction is created. I mean this party is created. So now I'll go to ad hoc payments and I'll create, I'll record this particular payment. So yeah, this is the one that we created, that is MK traders. Okay, and then the account is 4568. Okay, so this is the amount. Probably I'll capture, let's say $560. Okay, and then this is nothing but the expense account again. Okay, so let me say, so let me call it rent or something. Okay, maybe car rental. I'm just booking this. Okay, and then the business unit. So this is again the same way. So if I want to get the payment file, so I can select this option. If I don't want this payment file to be generated by the system, so I can just leave this option unchecked. Okay, so system will just capture the transaction in the system. Okay, so the payment number is 6023. So that is about the ad hoc payment that we will create it here. Okay. So now we have something called cash positioning, and then we have something called cash forecasting. Okay. So cash positioning is something that we are looking at here. Okay. So now here, if you see the overall balance that we will see here, okay, and the total variance. So now, how do we arrive this total variance? Is that for each bank account, so I will have my own target balance that is set. So now if you take this account 2870, so I have set this as $1 million target. Okay, so now if I see, so the balance that is there is 1 million 66 something. Okay, so now I have more than what I have targeted. Okay, so that's the reason we are seeing this in positive. So probably if I have 96, so then it will be 4000 in negative. Okay, so this is how basically it will track our balance. So basically this is sort of a control that I can have it in the system. Okay, so now if I say view cash positioning, so then I'll see my opening balance. So in this case, we did not upload any opening balance, or we did not had any transaction in the system. So now the way this particular sheet or this particular page what we are looking at will work is that, so now if I have a particular bank account which has, let's say, a closing balance on 29th of December, so that will become my opening balance here for this particular account. But for me, I don't have any transaction created on 29th of December. Okay, so here if you see the opening balance, I'm not having any data. But if I have transaction, then I will have closing booked balance, which means that closing balance that I have created there will become my opening balance here. Okay, so basically this is how it will work for opening balance. Okay, so now here if you see, so we have lot of accounts that has been populated. Okay, so this is basically based on the accounts that we have access to. Okay, so the account that I have access to is I have more than 6 or 7 bank accounts. So that's the reason we are seeing these many accounts. Or let's say I have access to only probably let's say 2869. So then I will see balance only for this account. So these will be disabled. Okay. So that's the thing. And then the inflow and outflow. So if you see, so for this we don't have any inflow or outflow, but here if you see for this particular account that is 2870, so we have certain payments that were created. Okay, so if you just expand this, so you will see by payment method. Okay, so it is check or electronic, so you'll see. And if you just click this particular thing, so you will be taken the transaction. Okay, so this if you see, so this is basically the AP payments that we are looking at. Okay, okay, so similarly, if you have the targeted and this thing, so you'll have, so targeted if you see, so we have it, but to see the data and projected, so I will need certain balances in terms of at least for a period of 7 days. Okay, so that is how I will build my projected balance. So which is going to give me what would be my projected balance if I have, let's say, 10 invoices to be paid. So each 10,000, then it will tell me the projected balance is, let's say, uh, negative in 1 lakh. But then if I wanted to get a receipt on a particular date, let's say on 30th of December, of, let's say, 2 lakh. So now this projected balance will become 1 lakh in positive. Okay, so this is how this will work. So based on this projected and target, so we'll have the variance that is created by the system. Okay. Yeah, and this is something in cash pool. Okay, so cash pool is something that if I want to have multiple bank accounts, I can have. So whatever we are seeing, this is what is cash pool. Okay, and here bank account group is nothing but based on the filters. So we will create bank account group. So I'll just show how to create this bank account group. Okay, so here if you see, so I have this filter. So I'll just say, let's say I wanted to see only this bank account, that is 2870. Okay, so I'll just say this is new. Okay, so now this will become my bank account group. So if I filter this, so I'll get only for this particular bank account. So that's about the bank account group. Okay, so which will again have the information about this. Okay, so this is about this, and similar to the cash positioning, so we also have this 5 day forecasting. Okay, so forecasting is again, so how this will look like. So I am seeing more this thing because I have access to this because this is test environment. Okay, but then in real estate, so let's say I have access to only US one legal entity, so I'll see something like this. So on top, I will have the balance. Okay, so balance is since we are starting today, so it is 0. So now I have certain inflow transactions in the system. Okay, so which will tell me this is my inflow transaction. Okay, and so this is nothing but your AR. So if you just click this, so it will take you to the AR transactions. So from there you can again drill down. Okay. So now these are your AP transactions, and the projected is this inflow minus outflow. Okay. So this closing balance or this projected balance becomes your opening balance for the next day. So here if you see, so this is for 31st. So 31st, this will be the balance, and then I don't have any transaction. So as I said, so we will
So,
need at, yeah,
so this forecast, no,
yeah,
if we have receivable, payable on the particular date, it will automatically taken that one.
yeah. So based on that receivable and payable transaction, so it will consider and it will forecast for the remaining periods.
So it will automatically pick that date. So these are the amount which needs to be
Yes,
payable, and these are the amount which need to be receivable, and the balance
correct,
is there.
correct, correct.
Okay.
So it will see for the payable and it will see for the receivable, and it will analyze what is the balance that we have for the 7 days period or whatever the period that we have the transactions. Okay. So based on the regular this thing as an average one, so system will take and it will give us the inflow and outflow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is about the forecasting. So this is real-time data. So probably if you refresh, so you'll have the data. But this is test environment. So even if we refresh, so we'll not have the updated data. Okay, so if it is in production, so you'll have the data updated if you say refresh. Okay. Yeah, and then you have something called Smart View report. So these are basically the statement related this thing to correct it. Okay, so import cache positioning is nothing but if you want to import from your spreadsheet. So it's the same option, so whatever we have seen in the Excel sheet, okay. But then we have something called a smart view report, okay. So now what exactly is this smart view report? So smart view report is kind of an Excel based analysis that we can do in the system, okay. So now to give more information about this, okay, I think I will have to go to this and open this. Okay, so I'll just unblock this and open again. Okay, so let me generate this report. Okay, so this is basically the space component. Okay, so which will be linked with the application. The password is, give me a moment, let me check for the username and password. Okay, so this is fin.impl21 and it is welcome 123. Okay, and password is welcome. Hmm, just give me a moment. I'll just check for username. I'm not sure if it got updated. Yeah, I think the instance got refreshed. So because I just took this and pasted also, but then again the same issue. So it's failing at authorization. Okay. So it's nothing. So it's the same information. So whatever we have seen here. Okay, so here in the forecasting, whatever we saw, so that is the same information that we'll see in the Excel sheet. So that's about this thing. Okay, so it's just I'll have to give next and connect it with the application and do a refresh. So I'll get my data relevant to the bank account that I have access to. Let me try one last time. I think it will not work out, but let me try. Yeah, it got refreshed. Okay, but the option is same. So it's just looking at the data in Excel. So that's it. Okay, so any doubt in this? Okay, I'll just talk about this also. So correct bank account errors and this. Okay, again here I'll have to log in. So it is the same screen. So I'll just go to the bank statement. So there I can correct it. So it's the same option. So in Excel, so whatever you are seeing, so these are Excel options. So either it could be your cash positioning or your bank statement or the transaction import errors if you have anything. So these are the spreadsheet options that you have for the cash management module. Okay. So others we have seen. So that is forecasting or positioning, transfer, and the ad hoc payments. Okay. So
Uh,
any
part, what
questions?
are
Yeah.
in second part? What are all things we have discussed
So
in
you
cash
know
management?
what? Yeah, in the cash management module, so what we have discussed is that so we have seen so I'll just start from this thing in terms of module wise. I'll say so first we have said we have seen this one creating the bank account. Okay, first thing, and then what are the controls that we have it in the bank account. Okay, and then we saw how to create a manual bank statement, and then we saw how to create the reconciliation rules, the different matching rules, and create it and attach it with the bank account. Okay, and then we created one transaction. Okay, and then we did the reconciliation manually in the system. Also, we ran this automatic reconciliation, okay, which we ran this program automatically. System did the reconciliation, which we verified and confirmed it. That is one thing. And then this transaction. So this transaction we created it manually, and so I just explained the process. So it's just submitting this process, which will generate it and the relevant setups that we have seen it. Okay, and then we have seen the bank transfers and cash positioning and cash forecasting and then the ad hoc payments. So these are the things that we have seen in the cash management module. So finally what I have with me is that this bank statement report. So if I am basically uh, importing my statement, then I will have the statement if I want to look at it. So I can just run this report and see the data. Okay, so I'll just save this and submit. Okay, so I'll just go to the screen. Yeah, so the bank statement report is done. Okay, so this is what it is. So this is nothing but the manual statement that we created. Okay, so if you see, so this is the ID that we gave. So that is 301. Okay, and the balance we did not give anything. Okay, and this is the one line that we entered. Okay, so this is simple report where you can see your statement details. Yeah, any question?
No questions on this one. I have to work on this thing. That's
Yeah, sure. Maybe you can take this thing and uh, maybe you can take this recording and work it out. And if you have any question, maybe we'll discuss next week. Okay, so if we don't
yeah,
have any question, yeah, yeah, maybe
yeah.
you can see. Yeah. Or meanwhile, if you have anything to be clarified, you can post it in the group also. So I'll just check and I'll revert on the group also. That is
Is
also
the
fine.
okay?
Yeah.
Is the instance refreshed or is it still have?
Yeah, I'm thinking instance has got refreshed, but this has not logged out yet. But there I couldn't log in. So I'm thinking that it is refreshed because I have saved this link, so I'll not be knowing it. So maybe just check once if it is refreshed, let me know. So I'll try to get the latest credentials.
Yeah, yeah. If you share me the latest credential, I will work on this one. Yes.
No, because for me it's working, so I'm able to log in.
Okay.
So yeah, just check once if you are able to log in. So if you face any difficulty, let me know. So I'll try to get the details.
Oh, actually, I don't have the credentials, and they are not pinged in the group right now.
Okay. Okay, fine. No issues. I'll share in the group.
Yeah, yeah, fine. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
We'll see you next week then.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.